And Nigerians have reacted to the video of popular actor turned lawmaker Desmond Elliot allegedly pushing for social media regulation. Well, he joins us tonight to discuss the issues raised in the video. But before we discuss, for clarity, here is a clip with Desmond Elliot there at the Lagos State House of Assembly.
The events of the last few weeks, which commenced on the 7th of October 2020 and reached its climax on the 20th of October 2020, have bombarded me with a barrage of feelings, that of joy, sadness, sorrow, pain, tears. Apologies for coming late, sir. I accompanied the Right Honorable Speaker, House of Reps, to survey areas in Surulere that were bastardized, destroyed by people they call hooligans, but because they live amongst us, I will call them our brothers. Mr. Speaker, I saw people crying. I saw people crying, people fainting. Today, 3 days after the destruction, mothers who have worked hard, asking the Speaker, how are we going to go again? How do we grow again? I ask us, where have we failed? I commiserate with the lives of the people who have died during this period. I sympathize with those who've lost businesses. I sympathize with Lagos State at the deliberate attempt to cripple the state and to cripple our spirit. But as a people, we will not let that happen. Mr. Speaker, we need to address certain things. The Nigerian youth, the social media, the social influencers, all of these are making the narrative that we are seeing today, except we are joking with ourselves. Social media, yes, though good, has its negative impact. Let me first thank you for condemning the wanton killings and carnage that happened at Lekki. When I went through the comments, I could not believe it, Mr. Speaker. The curses, the abuses from children. And I ask myself, is this Nigeria? What is going on? Children cursing, people having the effrontery to enter an Oba's palace, hold the staff of office. Culture is gone. Mr. Speaker, in the next 5 years, there will be no Nigeria. If we don't start now, the youth is not only those who do the peaceful protest, those who have looted, who have destroyed lives, they are youths as well. Mr. Speaker, pregnant women went into malls, picked things and went away. When shall we change this narrative? I put it to all the celebrities out there, all the motivational speakers. This is the only country we have. The wealthy will go. When anything happens, what is our common saying? We die here. Please, celebrities, please, social media influencers, stop the hatred already. You have a means constitutionally to change government. It's called your PVC. Go to the elections. If you are tired, come and enter government. People are dying. The narrative must change. Government, Mr. Speaker, this is my prayer. From the National Assembly, we must decentralize the federal government. Regions must start to operate. It's obvious states are on their own. Regions should start operating. The narrative should start here.
Wow, a very emotional Honorable Desmond Elliot there at the Lagos State House of Assembly. Well, Desmond Elliot joins me now via WebEx. Desmond, thank you so much for being here with me tonight on the program. Well, Desmond, we have seen how emotional you got, especially this video came the aftermath of the looting that happened, and not just in your constituency, but all across Lagos as well as other states. But looking at that video and what you said about social media, let's clarify, first of all, are you calling for the regulation of social media in Nigeria?
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that I was asked to come speak up. Firstly, I would say categorically clear that the social media space really have been a blessing for me as a practitioner and also for the kind of thing I do. Watching it over and over again, I can see why or where people thought it meant regulating the social media space. That was not in any way, categorically in any way what I meant. I never meant, why would I? I mean, when I do things in my constituency, I put it up on the social media space. Why would I ask for that? Besides, freedom of expression is important. It's constitutional. So I could never have called for the social media space to be regulated. No.
Okay, you say you're not calling for a regulation of social media, but there's a part in that video clip I saw earlier where you're saying that Nigeria may cease to exist in 5 years if nothing is done. What exactly were you referring to?
Thank you very much. Like I said earlier, but let me go back. Actually, that morning I was already at the House of Assembly getting ready for plenary, and I got a call that Mr. Speaker, House of Reps was coming to the constituency to survey the level of damage. And actually got a call from him. I took permission from my speaker to quickly rush to Surulere, go around, and then what I saw was heartbreaking, because the mothers, they were there, and they were there. I saw people who said they stayed 35 years of their life, and things the mobsters couldn't take away, they destroyed. And it was just a whole lot going on, and the mothers were saying, lots of them were women. Some had their daughters because there was no job. They had their daughters, standing in their stead, and they're like, what are we going to do? And we're just all feeling bad. And, people saying, these people, it's not just hunger, it's anger. They were angry. And obviously, as things were going on, they were saying it was, the things, some of these, quote unquote, I call them our youth. Some of these people just get information fed off from the internet and from the social media space. And I said, and as a result of that, it was, that was what was, people were talking about it whilst we were there. So I left there immediately and went back to plenary. And it was when I got to plenary, to tell you the truth, I had not gotten over it. I actually had something prepared, which if you notice, I didn't read. The only thing I read was my greetings, but I was overwhelmed. So I never meant that. So what I meant in 5 years was I watched as people were killed. Let's start from the 20th, when it happened. On 20th of October, I was devastated. I stayed all night. awake, speaking with Mr. Speaker, and going through our heads. I got to DJ Smith's Switch's Instagram live. I saw it, but I started getting death threats. So I logged out because the threats were about, oh, you had sent army to go and kill us. And I'm like, oh my God, the thing is changing. It's not about that. So when I got to plenary on Monday, it was the whole emotions that went through. And I saw people killing people. I saw people running away with things. I saw people even on that day of the 20th screaming because I hooked up a bit. If we don't control that narrative, we will not have a country. That was what I meant.
Well, Desmond, staying with the occurrences as it concerns social media, let's talk about the fact that you made an appeal. You had talked about receiving death threats after what happened on the 20th of this month of October. You appealed to celebrities and social media influencers to stop the hatred. How much of an impact do you think, social media influencers and celebrities like yourself, because let's not forget that you were an actor before you became a politician. How much of an impact did, the tweets and the messages on Instagram and all the social media platforms had on, the protest and the aftermath?
I am, firstly, let me make it clear. I am pro-NSAS. I am completely with the youth. Completely, totally with the youth. One of the reasons I decided to come into politics in the first place was because I fought for the fact that this country needed a change. And when the youth woke up, I agreed, I was with them. Now, like I said, because of the situation that's happened, and going that Monday morning and seeing and listening to what was going around, on my way to work, I was saying, okay, I just think maybe we should cut down and we strategize. Because the truth is, we've done the protest, the youth did the protest, and we had gotten to the point where we needed to now, okay, share the love for the memories of those we've lost during this whole process. I felt we needed to now talk about love. Okay. And we needed to now start talking about how we can get
it right moving forward.
In the youth movement.
All right. A youth movement. That's why I was surprised when we saw that video, you calling for some sort of regulation of social media, because I remember in 2015, you had said that social media was instrumental to you winning your election. But let's talk about, from that video as well. There was something you said where you said the Nigerian youth should not be thinking about protests, but instead we should think about using our PVCs. Are you saying that we don't have the rights to protest, and do we have to wait for an election to kick against bad governance in Nigeria? Even though the youths were not calling for a change of governance, but they were just airing out their grievances.
No, okay, so firstly, I didn't say they shouldn't protest. No, I didn't say that. That was not what I said. I said the narrative for the hatred. In other words, because I was emotional, and that's the truth. I blame it on emotions, which I think I should have actually come down to I should have made it a lot better in explaining what I meant. So what I meant was, in discussing this narrative, we needed to galvanize every youth, the ones that are civil, the ones that have destroyed, the ones from the north, south, east and west, so that the whole thing can go in one slump. And I meant that if we continue in this manner, other people, that's indirectly, other people will hijack it from us. In other words, the mobs will hijack it. So let's now preach the message of our PVCs and make sure. So when I didn't expatiate, but what I meant was that celebrities and social influencers, social media influencers should charge their followers to show their PVCs, get ready, let's do it, let's move together. So pretty much That was what I meant. I never for a second insinuated that it should be regulated or anything. No, at all. I mean, I'm sorry. Also, they felt pretty bad. I called them children. So what I meant was, when I went through some of the posts, I would go to the people who actually sent it and the comments. And I just found out that some of them were youngsters. And I'm like, and they were cussing. So I'm like, okay, this is not the Nigeria that we are hoping to have. We want to have the change, and they're not calling for the change of the government.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why the video coming from you, who is also a young youth, because Desmond, the last time I checked, you're actually 44. That means you're still part of the youth. But, you know, we still have to talk about what you had said, and even your explanation right now concerning what you're saying, the right to protest. You're saying that the Nigerian youth should not protest, but wait until after 4 years before they make their opinions heard? Is that what you're saying, Desmond?
No,
let's clarify that quickly before we move along.
You have the right. You have the right constitutionally. You have the right to protest. No, I never insinuated that. What I was saying was that I was encouraging, or rather, because I was very emotional and I was quite upset. You know, I was saying all those who can influence this change. Whilst we are doing this, we should also be sending another narrative, which is we can win this by way of our election. We can get a seat at the table. We can now have our budget and then look at how we can influence the youth, because the mobsters didn't understand that it was a peaceful protest. If we now emphasize and put so much on vocational education, and put so much in educating them, put so much in understanding who we are as a people, I think it would help. So that was what I meant. You know, that was what I meant, and I totally apologize if it came out the other way, the wrong way. And yes, as a youth, I totally stand for the rights of the youth. I totally stand for what the youth stands for.
Now I'm really excited that you came on this interview, because there's a lot of clarifications that you have made so far. But still talking about clarifications, there was something you said about, you know, the government at the center and the fact that the states don't have as much power as they're supposed to do. Are you calling for restructuring, Desmond, as we get ready to wrap up this conversation?
Thank you very much. Now, this is part of what the narrative I was talking about. That I was hoping that whilst we were talking about the incidents that happened, those that influence social media space should also be talking about, okay, wait a minute. We should encourage the regions to grow. We should start having true federalism. And yes, which is one of the reasons I came into government, because I believe strongly in true federalism. Because I feel there's so much concentration of power at the center. And with that happening, we ask, who ordered the army? Who ordered the police? Who ordered this? I believe we should start having state police. We should start having, you know, equipping the regions. Let every region begin to grow and grow the way they want to and decide how they want to grow, you know, and then the center will just be making sure that things are going well. That was what I was hoping, you know, when I pushed all that out. But right. I totally once again apologize for.
Well, Desmond, I don't know, but there's something off about your audio. We're really struggling. I don't know if there's a fan around you there, but it's really interfering with, you know, we getting clarity from all that you're saying. But as we wrap up this conversation, Desmond, the panel of inquiry that has been set up by the Lagos State government, let's talk about how much support the Lagos State House of Assembly will be giving to not just the government now, but also the victims of police brutality to ensure that justice is served. Wrap up in about 30 seconds or less, if you can.
Okay, real quickly, I'm not here to speak on behalf of the Assembly. I just came to clarify what's going on. But today we had the stakeholders meeting. The one I had in Surulere, it happened in all state constituencies in Lagos State, organized by the State House of Assembly. issues of police brutality came up, we agreed that everybody, even if someone was shot by way of stray bullets, put down your name, and I promised that we were going to work it through and make sure it got to the judicial panel that was holding it. So the assembly is totally unequivocally in support of the youth protest.
In support of the protest and not in support of regulating social media. Desmond Elliot, thank you for joining me tonight.